Hey everybody, it's Nicole and I'm back with another video for the Vicky Boutin design team. Today I'm honestly just going to have some fun with art crayons and a few different stencils from Vicky's collection. I'm just rubbed some art crayon here on a piece of acrylic and I'm just using the stencil brush to add that pattern onto some foundations paper. I'm not really trying to make this perfect. I kind of want like a aged sort of stenciled look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do one side of the paper in one color and another side of the paper in another color. And the only difference that I'm going to do is I'm going to change up the stencil. I am going to use the same technique using the stencil brush as well. And I'm going to do that through all the different colors of the rainbow until I have kind of used, I guess it would be 6, I can't remember, different stencils and different colors. So you can see I have done the red right now. I'm just going to do a quick cleanup with that. I'm not going to clean my brush because I kind of want a bit of that red to mix into my orange. I decided after I cleaned all that up that I wanted to add some droplets as well to my background. So just so I have a bit of a layered kind of texture on the background. And so I'm just going to add some droplets, let that sit for a minute, and then roll off any excess. Then I kind of thought, the droplets weren't really super vibrant, so I took some of Vicky's watercolor markers, which I love, and they're super pigmented, so I just added some droplets with that just to get a different variation of the red. So you kind of have a little bit of that softness with the stencil, and then the droplets, and then these, as you can see, are a little more vibrant. So now I'm just really going to repeat the same process using a different stencil. This time I'm going to go in with some orange. And because I have some red left on my stencil brush, it's going to make it into this really pretty kind of corally orange kind of color. Just adding simply the orange art crayon using this different stencil, lining it up as best as I can, and just kind of filling in this side of the paper. Same thing I'm going to do as well. I'm going to add some droplets, and then I'll go in later on as well with the watercolor markers and add some droplets there. So you can see it has a really nice kind of aged effect. I really love how parts of the design are missing and parts are really solid. It's kind of just a nice distressed sort of feel. Again, let that sit for a minute, take off those droplets, and then I'm going to go in again with the watercolor marker. I'm just giving a quick clean to my stencils in between just to get some of the bulk off there, and I'm going to run them under some warm water later on once I have all my pages completed. And just picking off a little art crayon there that was stuck to my page and a few of the darker watercolor marker droplets and just rolling it off. I find rolling with the paper towel is the easiest way to kind of clean up those drop marks. I find sometimes if I blot it with a paper towel, it smudges a bit, so I find rolling it is a really easy way. Again, I didn't clean the orange off my brush, and you can kind of see once I added this yellow, which is quite bright, it made like a nice buttery yellow color, so I really like that. I added again art crayon in yellow, and the same thing here with the watercolor markers, just to get those same kind of colors on the page. I did speed this up quite a bit more because you're going to see this 6 or 8 times, so it's the same process. I really wanted to make sure to use a different stencil for each color, just to kind of add a different kind of texture once I use this later on. And to be honest, I'm making these sheets so I can use them for multiple projects. I'm only going to be cutting out a few hearts from each of these sides of the paper. And then I have tons of good stuff later. So all the work of me kind of going through this process doesn't take a long time in the first place, but because I have all these different colors to work with, I now have like good pieces to kind of go back and use over and over. I'll get a lot of use out of these 3 different sheets of paper that I'm going to use with all the different colors. So to me, this is work well done. Last one here, I'm going to use a bit of this nice blue. I've mixed together a lighter and a darker shade of blue with this funky rectangle sort of stencil. I'm just going to, again, just finish off this last 2 pieces here with blue, and then the other side will be a bit of a purple color that I'm going to kind of use here. Again, I'm going to make my droplets by mixing together the same kind of colors and letting those sit. And I will also add with blueberry pie watercolor marker, and I got it all over my hands. It did stain me for a couple days, I will tell you. I had to take off my nail polish and everything, so when I went back to finish this video the next day, I have no nail polish, so you'll see that right away. Because I didn't clean the blue off my stencil brush, it was a bit tricky because I was picking up a lot of blue with the purple, so I ended up going in and adding some pink art crayon to that blue, and you can see that makes just a bit of a more richer kind of purple. I ended up using more pink than purple, to be honest, because of all that blue that I had in the stencil brush, but if you were smarter than me and cleaned in between, you would be able to use just the plain purple color art crayon there, and you wouldn't have as many issues as I was having. But you can see it turned out quite nicely. I have a nice variation of purple too. And now I'm just going to go ahead, same last thing with the last sheet. I'm going to add my purple water drops and then my purple watercolor marker drops. And it's kind of nice. It adds like that nice triple layer texture. You can really see later on in the close-ups, you'll see the different kind of colors of the droplets. I wanted a really vibrant purple, and look how pretty that is. So now that I've set them all aside to dry, this dries pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead with all of the sheets and just do art crayon here in black, and just add a very light sprinkling of the black along each of the pages. That's just going to kind of add some fluidity when I cut them out later across my different projects. I'm just going to dry them all really quickly. This art crayon doesn't take long to dry in droplet form. Now I've gone ahead with my silhouette and just cut out 2 different sizes of hearts from each of the colors of paper. I've stitched them together, and I've got another piece of foundations paper, and I'm just going to take those same art crayons that I used earlier, and I've watered them down, and I'm really just brushing that onto the background of the foundations paper really quite quickly, adding some droplets along the top and bottom edges, and I'm mixing the colors kind of across as I'm making them. So I started with the yellow, and then I went in with the orange, and now I'm going to do the red, and I'm going to mix the colors together there so they kind of blend together quite nicely. I'm being really messy. I'm not really making it line up too prettily. I really want it to have that artsy kind of look. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now with the green, then the blue, and then the purple. And you'll see I just finish off with all my droplets just to make sure I'm using up all of my product. I'm not really wasting a lot here. And I'm going to let those droplets dry in the air as I work my way across, because they will set up nicely onto that white background. And if you ever have any kind of harsher lines like I have there with the green and the blue, just go in with a with a paintbrush and just some water, and it will, you can blend them together nicely while it's still wet. So I'm going to do that with a couple of mine here. You can see with the blue and the purple, I kind of mix them together and add my droplets as well. So just make sure you have a nice kind of blended rainbow effect. And then I'm going to go in again with my paper towel roll and just blot it all away. I do want this to dry a little bit more, so I'm going to set it aside to dry. And because I am also impatient, I actually have my Mink set up to the right hand side of me, and I am going to go ahead and run this through that just to make sure it gets all the warpiness out. You can actually see there in the middle of the screen where the green is, it's kind of a bit warped. That's because the paper is still pretty wet in that area. This paper does hold up quite nicely. It's nice and thick. It can take a lot of water, but I really don't enjoy that warped kind of mixed media look. So I'm going to set up my laminator here and my Mink and just run it through a few times. So I'm just going to trim off the edge here of the paper and then run it through. It usually takes about 2-3 times to go through to make sure I get that nice kind of even flattened placement that I like. But it's a really easy way if you have a Mink machine. It's a good way to get extra use out of that, not just for foiling. I'm just going to back my photo onto a scrap of this orange paper here, and I'm going to add some pop dots to it, and that's where it's going to go kind of on my page. So I know in that rainbow effect, my little pooch here is going to go in that orange sort of area. I do want to add a little pop of black because I feel like there's a lot of lightness to this design, so I want to add some of that black, even though it's just a tiny little amount, and that's going to ground out some of the lightness that we have going on. All right, so I have my paper all dry, my photo all ready to go, and now I'm really just putting pop dots behind each of my hearts and layering them across my page. So I'm again matching them up with each color and kind of primping up the center heart where I've stitched it down and just sticking them. I don't want them to line up really nicely. I want them to be a little more scattered, and that's going to make things just look a little nicer when you put it on the page. Often if you try to line things up too well and they are off by just the tiniest amount, it's way easier to see that than if you purposely kind of make them uneven. So I decided I didn't want to waste all my hard work from the stenciling there, so I decided to use my second set of hearts that I had cut out, and I'm just going to add a second row underneath the first. These ones I'm not going to pop up with pop dots, sorry. I'm just going to trim them down and add tape runner to the back, and again, not making them even, not making a real obvious pattern, just kind of following along with where the other heart is, making sure they're stuck down pretty good. All right, I'm going to trim off my excess hearts here on my page and just fiddle a bit with the placement. All right, so there we go. So now I want to get going with the rest of my page. I do want to add some black droplets later, so I'm going to use my Glimmer Glaze to do that. But I am going to use some of Vicky's chipboard alphas here. I love these ones. They're really match well with almost every collection she has, as well as every photo. So because of the different variations of the texture on them, they're really fun. So I'm just going to add a little quick title here about my puppy. This is actually my older puppy. He's 4 now, but I'm going to use the word puppy. And then the rest of my page, I'm not going to use any pattern paper. I'm only going to use stickers and embellishments. So I'm trimming down one of the loves off the puffy sticker sheet. I love this font, so I'm just trimming it off so it kind of looks nice. And I'm going to tuck that in here with my title, trying to decide where I want to put it. And then because it's like that navy blackish color, I wanted to add some more black into the page because it is pretty light. Everything's pretty light right now. So I want to add just a few droplets of black, not to be overwhelming, but just to ground out some color. And then I really thought these puffy hearts were perfect on that same sticker sheet. So I'm going to take all the different colors that I can find and put them in the same color grouping along my rainbow there. Trying to get one in each area as best as I can. So I'm trying to use, you know, all the different colors. And I'm trying to place them so that they're kind of up and down and not, again, quite so straight across. So I'm going to put that aside for now, and I'm going to pull out this other sticker sheet and see if there's any other good bits I can use in there. I have an arrow that's yellow that will match nicely. And then I thought I would use a lot of these little sentiment stickers that are on here. These are really fun for a lot of different projects, and I thought these will be perfect in the center of some of the hearts. So my goal is to get one of each color, or mostly one of each color. There was no red, or I've used them already, so I just used the black one as a default. But I'm going to do this on the rest of them. I have a blue and a green. I will come up with a yellow one at some point. And then I found the gold heart foil hearts that are in here, and I thought that's a good neutral to add throughout the rest of the design. So I'm going to add a few of those too. And then I'm trying to decide if there's any other pieces I want to add. I found this heart sticker that's really good, so I'm going to add that one in there. It kind of matches with the blues and a little bit of the navy and the lighter blue that's there. And then I found a yellow sticker that will work well, so I'm going to put that one up here. And because I moved one up to the top, I moved the other. So here is how it looks in the close-up. You can see those different colors of drips that we did and the stenciling. And it really is like you made your own pattern paper. I love how like fun and easy this is. It gives you a good way to use your stencils and use your tools. And you know, a project like this you could use in many different ways. So I hope you're inspired to give some of that a try and make a non-traditional Valentine's layout with your Vicky Boutin collection. Bye-bye.